Welcome to your podcast, Leadership is Tricky, where we'll tackle various topics, challenges, and experiences as it relates to your investment in leadership. So, let's design success together. Now your hosts.
Hey, welcome everyone back to Leadership is Tricky. Erick Dr here with our lo and behold friend and co-host, Dr. Stephen Carter. How you doing, Dr. Carter?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. It's a lovely day. It's a great day to be alive.
Yeah, so we are here again at another Army event for the Association for United States Army. Leadership is Tricky is celebrating with AUSA because I do have a new title. I am the Vice President for Professional Development for the C.W. Abrams chapter here in Germany, and also supporting the European region as the VP for Professional Development. And Dr. Carter, and your title?
I am the Vice President for Young Professionals, which is an AUSA initiative. It is focused on young leaders, and it's also focused on emerging leaders.
Right. Yeah. So, last time we were here was the other event on the eve of AUSA 2022 in Washington, D.C. And we talked a lot about young professionals. We talked about coaching, mentorship, and purpose, advocacy, and everything that goes into leading young professionals. And so today, really, what we're going to talk about are a couple things, right? So you and I were kind of building out the skeleton in flight on our way here, right? So I'll say it's kind of ad hoc, but what we want to do is expand on how do we communicate across generations, right? And we had a couple vignettes, right? So that's what we're going to talk about to kick this thing off. And then we're going to have a couple folks come on, and we're going to talk about what they're thankful for, right? Because we're on the eve of Thanksgiving. And, we just had some turkey and mashed potatoes, all excellent food here at the Penta Hotel. But we're going to talk about what are people thankful for, who they're thankful for, that's kind of helped them get to where they're at today in their life. And then, just kind of ask them why, right? So we haven't pre-staged any of these questions. They don't know that we're going to ask it. So any thoughts on what we're going to talk about today?
Yes. You know what? I think you made a great intro about being thankful. This is a time of the year where we ceremoniously give thanks. Of course, the obvious one is family. Okay, that's obvious. So what I want to talk about is what is not so obvious. What are you thankful for? And for me, I am thankful for the opportunity to serve. As a servant leader, it is a great honor and privilege to be in a capacity and have the opportunity to serve and create efficiencies in the workplace, or just help a person reach their goals, help a person find that intersection between aspiration and achievement. That is what I am thankful for. And of course, there are many blessings that flow from that. This river has many tributaries. And that's just where it starts for me, just the opportunity to serve. I am so grateful, so thankful. And to all those who taught me and groomed me along the way and helped me understand how to create pathways for others.
No, that's perfect, because, one of the things that I talk about all the time, and for my for followers out there that have heard all the episodes, right, they hear me say this term all the time: live your purpose, or you always live someone else's purpose. Right. And, my purpose, it's not just that of my family or community. Right. It's of service. That is my purpose. Right. But what I'll tell you what I am thankful for, though, is being a part of the Army. Right. And the Army has given me everything that I have. Right. When I look at my education, I look at, my well-being and livelihood, and and how I make the means to be able to take care of my family. The Army has given me that. And I've talked about in the past, rough childhood and the economic situation that I was in growing up. the trauma in my life because of, whether it's physical abuse, alcoholism, drugs, whatever the case may be. The silver lining is my father was in the military. He was in the Army. And when things fell apart, right, at home, my dad, took me in with, my stepmother, and the Army gave us everything we had, right? And then when I was lost in life, right, I joined the military, right? And the military has given me everything I have to this point. So we're going to reflect back on, this event today with, Association of the United States Army. One of the reasons that I joined it was because the Army has given me everything I have. And I am very thankful to not just the institution of the Army, but or the Department of Defense, but all of the people along the way that I have met to get me to where I am. The Army has given them something, and they've given it back fivefold to me. So it's just interesting, though, when we sit there and we reflect back on what it is we do, why we do it, because we were both just at a retirement of a gentleman that did 52 years of government service. And one of the things that I said during that session, and of course you were there, but was he had the patience to mentor, coach, and quite frankly, inspire me to be better at what I do. And he did all of that because it was thrusted onto him over the 52 years that he was serving. So that would be one of the things. I know it's kind of long-winded, but I was passionate about it.
I understand.
I
understand completely.
Yeah. You guys can't see it there. Maybe the thing's fuzzy, a little tear coming down, but no, but yeah. So let's talk about, let's go ahead and talk about communicating across generational boundaries, right? So I'm going to kick it over to you and hear your thoughts, right? And I know you've done your research. I know you got your notes together. I typically shoot off the hip, so I'll play off you right now.
Oh, well, I certainly appreciate that. I believe in D&D, either documents or documentation that is an authoritative source, or data.
Right.
If you're not talking about that or talking from that, then what are you talking about? Assumptions or emotions.
Right.
One thing I like about emotions is just like German weather. Wait 5 minutes and they'll change.
Unpredictable.
Absolutely unpredictable.
Right.
But what we have found is from research, and it doesn't matter who you look at, whether it's a Ernst & Young, whether it's a McKinsey company, or if it's Rand, it doesn't matter. The data is conclusive. The data is there. Whether you're using the Department of Labor, the Department of Education, the data is there. It shows that currently we have 5 generations in the workforce. And what I would say is the smallest group is probably, they're called traditionalists. That's the official name. Many of us know them as the greatest generation, especially for those who served in the military, because this captures a group that served during World War II. So for those that didn't serve, how do you capture them? So conclusively, they're called the traditionalists. And right now they're between the ages of 76 and 99. So now let's take the opposite end of the spectrum. Let's talk about your 25 and younger. These are called centennials. And everywhere in between, which I'm in the middle, I'm a Generation Xer. So your Generation Xers are going to be your 46s to 57s, roughly. Right. So what you're talking about with this group, we all communicate differently. So before I said that I was grateful and what I was thankful for. And one of the things I said I was thankful for was for those who took the time to mentor me, to guide me. But here's what's interesting about that. What is being said is not always what is being heard. Try if you're a young person talking to your grandparents, the language is different. How we communicate different. When we talk about millennials and centennials, they are communicators. Social media is probably their platform. When you start talking about millennials, this is the first generation that grew up completely on the internet. My generation brought the internet to you. And not only the internet, we're not talking just internet, we're talking about how to use it, the platforms, the devices. But the millennials actually grew up completely with it. They knew nothing about development. They knew only application and execution.
So it's interesting, just jump in on that, because I'm an old millennial. right? I was born in 1981. I'm 41 years old, almost 42, right? So I was probably that last generation that was moving from typewriters to, a 686 processor, right? Like what was a computer, right? We had AOL Messenger and AIM, at its infancy. But, my kids, 8 and 6, my daughter asked me the other day, what's a typewriter? I was like, what? Yeah. One aged me, but they communicate completely different, right? They communicate through games, YouTube, visuals, video, right? That's all they communicate.
That's
through.
important that you said visuals.
Right.
Centennials can communicate completely with emojis. No words, completely with emojis.
Right.
And they completely understand the message.
And I don't.
And we don't.
Because we in fact we went to go visit my wife's grandfather, who's 96 years old, right? And he's looking at us crazy. We got phones, and we talk through text messages, but when we call him, he's picking up the house phone, right? And the landline. And but it was interesting to have him at 96 with his counterparts at 98, 99 years old. They were just happy to have the physical interaction and conversation face to face, right? And then, to see him there and my kids not really interact a lot because they were just on two different spectrums that they didn't know how to communicate. So it's very interesting you said that because I will tell you, me as a millennial, I'm on both. Sometimes I miss the simplicity of sending a letter, where you put it in the mailbox, put the little flag up, and a few weeks later you get something back, maybe, right? Vice the, connected all of the time to this thing,
Yes.
where I'm available all the time, and I don't understand half of the stuff that's out there. So,
well, I think there's some value in all of it. I think there is a time and a place for push-to-talk communication. There is a time and a place for asynchronous communication. However, what we have to realize that in this day of shrinking work, in the shrinking workforce, but the increasing workload, that the flash to bang time is a lot smaller. So that means you need a synchronous method of communication whereby we can talk in such a way and we can also collaborate. Right. We can talk, collaborate, we can share, we can integrate across platforms. That is what is required in the workforce today. And what we find is that it is challenging for some of our more senior leaders to navigate this new environment because you're in an environment with people who understand this, actually, believe it or not, better than you. They actually understand how to communicate, how to collaborate better than you. How do you lead in an environment where your methods and approaches are antiquated? They represent a paradigm that is foregone. Right. It is heretofore. It is 20th century. So communication is so important. Communication is that link to how we navigate this time period.
Yeah, so there's various ways to communicate, right? You've got platforms, you've got social media, you've got still some of the legacy stuff like email, meetings in person, but it's also the terminology, right? And the connection, right? Because what I find now in the workforce and having folks that, I used to say I was a young guy, but I'm not the young guy anymore, right? I'm kind of, starting to look like the seasoned professional, right? Not to say old, but seasoned.
I like that.
But having the terminology and understanding that the younger generation actually want to communicate with feeling, right? They want to be valued and they want the words that they're saying to be heard and valued. And sometimes we have to make a concerted effort as leaders to understand them on an emotional level, the things yes. that motivate them, inspire them, and then be kind of vulnerable to the fact that it might not be the way you feel or you don't understand, but to open yourself up to what it is that they need, right, in order to be effective in the workforce. And a lot of it is just understanding what they're saying, you know?
You're so right, Eric. And if I could just merely punctuate your point, and some of them, they don't care about the things we care about. And there was a time, or the time is still today, where we are really deeply into the politics and how we should approach this because of the future, where a younger generation, or I just want to be free. I don't discriminate against this group. I don't see this group as threatening. Matter of fact, I believe in embracing this group. Why not? So it's how we see it. I think we look at things through a generational lens, and whether it's in the workplace and we're accomplishing tasks, because I think you and I had a great conversation. It could have been yesterday, where we talked about work. There's only two types of work in the workplace. There is task-based work, and there is productivity-based work.
Right.
And sadly, most people are just doing task-based work, which means it's not working toward a resolution. It's just work, and it just keeps you working. And you have younger generations that are not, they're not excited by task-based work. They want to achieve, they want to accomplish something, they want a sense of accomplishment. So it's incumbent upon us as more senior seasoned leaders to find a way to create an environment of productivity-based work where we're working smarter to accomplish even greater ends than we could have using some of the dated paradigms we use now.
Yeah, because I have found is, having both sides, right? I've got someone as old as 61, 62 in the workforce, and I've got someone as young as, 25, 26. And having the conversations with both is when I talk to the more senior person, is like their mind is always work, right? Here's the function, here's the task, here's the results. This is how I'm going to get there. And that's the only thing they talk about, right? When we sit down, I know when that person walks in or those people walk in, they're going to talk about the work, right? Hey, boss, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to deliver by this date, right? Get the other side of the spectrum. They come in and it's, hey, how are you doing? How's your day going? Oh, what'd you do last weekend, right? So there's a lead up, right? There's a connection built before you start talking about the work, right? And then when you get to the work, it's more, this is kind of what I think about it. This is kind of what I've done. Here's my strategy and plan. And what they're looking for is for you to support them, right? And encourage them. They're looking for that instant feedback, right? Because I find that a lot, the younger generation, they need that constant feedback. Yep, that's where we need to go. But the touch points are more frequent with the younger generation than the more seasoned folks. More seasoned folks, like, I've been doing this 40 years, I'm gone, right? I'll see you at the end. And then you hope they deliver what they said they were going to deliver. But then the young person's more like, hey, more agile in the way that they work through things, right? Hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. I found some efficiencies here. I want to cut this waste out, right? But it's about the meaningful connection and the dialogue and the why of why we're doing it, right?
Yes, the why.
And I was actually reading an article not too long ago. It was talking about consumers, right? Consumers, especially the millennials or younger, are buying or get behind a brand because of a social cause, because they can connect. It's no different than in the workplace, right? They need to get behind a cause and the why we do what we do. So I think it's important as leaders is, one, explain the why and create that direction and gain that alignment and commitment, right, behind that meaningful connection in that work. And then allow them to just kind of figure it out and be there to encourage, coach, mentor, and to use your terminology is advocacy, right? Let me go advocate on their behalf so they can get the results that they're set off to achieve. And just be open to that instant feedback and the needs that they have, and understanding kind of where they're going. And yeah, I just want to throw that in there because, we go through this every day, with both sides of the spectrum, especially in the government workforce that we're in our field, and even in IT, right? Because in IT, we have to be on top of technology, and you start to see as change is happening. How do you now communicate to the more seasoned folks that are losing something because of that change?
Yes, because when I look at the workforce, we have two ends of the spectrum. We really have three groups. You have those with underdeveloped capabilities. Okay, and that's just because they're young. I mean, you don't know what you don't know. You have to live and learn. You have the other end of the spectrum, which is diminished capacity. Hey, I've always done it this way. I'm going to keep doing it this way. I know this is new, but I'm not doing it. And then you have that group in the middle. And that's what you call, they're your early adopters. They're extremely agile. They're open to new things. They're always going to try new things. And they're always going to be the first to offer some sort of innovation or efficiency and be the first to test it. So you basically got these three groups of people that are all in this common workspace. But we have to understand how to communicate across these groups, back to your earlier point, because this younger group, they are still highly effective and they are highly competent. But we have to communicate. We have the responsibility to communicate what our intent is, why this is important to you, and how this can help further your career and further your expertise and your trade craft. Because ultimately we want to help you perfect your trade craft.
Yeah, and back to your earlier point, right? When we talk about serving, right? Sometimes it's getting out of our own way, right? Tell them the why, tell them what we want to achieve, and get out of the way, right?
Get out of their way.
Let them run, and then be that, just flip the paradigm on its head. They're not here to serve us as leaders, right? We're here to serve them, right? And be, coach, mentor along the way, help guide, right? And then when they get lost, bring them back in and focus it back, and then give the work back to them, right? Give the work, because what I find, and I just had this conversation with someone the other day because we're doing a mentorship session. One of the things I told them is, like, there's levels of effectiveness, right?
Oh, yes.
And if you want to be the person all the time as a leader, to say, no, we're going to do it my way, we're going to do it this way, right? So I'm not only telling them why, but I'm telling them how, right? And then there's the layer of micromanagement on top. If I were to do that, I'm limiting my effectiveness because I'm not giving them the ability to go out and grow, right? So then I'm also stifling their effectiveness. And then what they're going to do is they're going to vote with their feet and they're going to leave, right? Because I haven't created an environment where they feel like that I'm pushing them up, and I'm supporting them, and I'm, coaching, mentoring, and inspiring. I'm not doing any of those things because my level of effectiveness isn't there, right? So sometimes you got to do a self-inventory to say, hey, what's my leadership style? Do I trust my workforce? Am I communicating to them the why? Am I creating that meaningful connection and safe space for them to thrive and grow? And those are just some of those things that I would tell leaders out there, is just like, take a step back and see, hey, what's my level of effectiveness in the environment that I'm in, right? Because if you're putting a ceiling on that, then you have a shelf life.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And I think at some point, and I think you and I have talked about this before, matter of fact, you said it quite often, we all have a shelf life. We all hit a ceiling or a plateau. But the good news is there's ways to get beyond that. One of the ways to get beyond that is through education. It doesn't have to be paid education. It can be free, but another way is I'm never the leader that wants a person to stay with me for 3 to 5 years. And in that 3 to 5 years has never taken a course, a class, attended a program, attended a seminar or a conference. Because what I have effectively have done, I have kept someone at the same level as when they arrived. They will leave exactly as they came. And that doesn't benefit me. Not only does it not benefit them, it hurts me worse. As the leader, I'm the one who suffers the most, because as the environment changes, as the adversary improves and innovates, I still have the same thing.
Yeah, but also too, just understanding, taking it back to the generational differences, right? Most young folks are only in the seat for 2 to 3 years, and they're moving on.
Exactly.
Right. So one, how do you maximize the time that they're there, and also make them more marketable than when they came? All the same, because in that 2 to 3 years, they could innovate tremendously. They can find efficiencies in your processes and leave the organization better than they got there, right? But we have to invest in that. We have to pour the water on those seeds for it to grow, right? So I think it's on us and to make sure we do that. So, Doc,
Yeah,
because we're about almost 25 minutes in, I'm going to ask you a question.
yes, sir.
Right. So I know you said what you were thankful for, and we know that's service. Who along the way, and we're probably going to call someone out by name or by position or whatever, but who along the way are you thankful for that they came into your life, and why?
Oh man, there are so many. There are so.
You get to
so
pick
many.
one.
I can only pick one. If I can only pick one, I will tell you, it is a gentleman that I will see in a few days.
Okay.
Because I'm going to travel the mean streets of Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to make
The
the
Falcons
trek.
win this last weekend.
Hey man, you never know. Hey, it may look like a win up until the third or fourth quarter, but man, they will find a way to lose.
Oh, just
They
like
will
my
find a way.
Cowboys, but okay.
They will find a way. But a gentleman by the name of Dr. John H. Carter. This is one of the most phenomenal human beings I think I have ever met. He shared with me the trials he went through when he was the project manager for the MLK monument on Washington. And if you go to the bottom of the monument and look in the lower left corner, you will see that he is honored there with his name at the base of the statue, and just coordinating the event where presidents came, civil rights leaders came, and at the final breaking of the ground and the ceremony itself. I think it was in 2010 or 2011. I can't remember, but he has been a mentor to me. He has taught me so much, and I know I want to be more specific. Everything I asked of him, he gave me a response, not necessarily an answer. He gave me a response. But everything he told me to do, I did. And I tell you, right now, he is about 100-0. When I was struggling what I should do, should I pursue a doctorate? What should I do? Should I just hold what I have? He said, pursue the doctorate. I said, but I don't know what to get a doctorate in. He told me exactly what to get a doctorate in, told me exactly what school to go to. He broke it down, but he didn't tell me to go there because he understood me. And that's what's so important. Don't just talk to anybody. Talk to people who understand you. Once they understand you, they will give you valid advice. That was the reason he told me the program. That was the reason he told me the school. That was the reason. And at every turn, I asked him, I said, hey, well, what do you think about this? What should I do? He said, well, I can't tell you what to do, which is how he starts all conversations. I can't tell you what to do.
Right.
But consider these things. Consider those things. And he was giving me the answer without giving me the answer, but it was important. He helped me find my way. And this is just, and even to this day, whether it was life, love, marriage, education, he and I also belong to a great fraternity as well. So when it came to fraternal matters, he was there on that too. So you have to have someone in your life like that. And this man has always been there. He's a retired vice president at AT&T. So he offered me in my executive level travels and executive level education. When we talk, we could talk on the same plane. I understood what he was saying. He could advise at every level. And to me, that is what is so phenomenal about this man. He could advise at every level, at the human level, at the academic level, at the executive level, at the fraternal level, at the family level, at the marriage level. He just.
But it sounds like, all in all, everything that you said so far is that he made time, right? And that was probably the most important aspect of it, is that he made the time for you to share, right? For you to reflect and learn and grow, right?
Absolutely.
And kind of help navigate you by throwing the work back on your plate, which is also important too. So, yeah. So one, thank you for sharing. I know I put you on the spot there, but
I want to thank you for having me.
yeah. So I am going to reserve who I'm thankful for the next segment. But what we're going to do here is we're going to close out this segment, right? We talked about generational communication, the things that we need to think about, what we need to factor in when we're dealing with people on both sides of the professional spectrum or age spectrum, what we're thankful for.
Yes.
So if it's your first time tuning in, one, thank you for tuning in to Leadership is Tricky here on the eve of Thanksgiving. We're here at the Penta Hotel. On our next episode, myself and Dr. Carter will open this up, and we will have the regional president for AUSA here in Europe. We will have the chapter president, as well as the host of this event here at the Penta Hotel, where we'll ask them why they do what they do. So if it's your first time on, thank you for tuning in. If you're a return listener, thank you for your dedication, your subscription. If you're looking at the video, give us feedback on what you think about the show, so we can continue to share and grow this thing. So soon we will have Stephen Olick back with us on an episode. He's been, transitioning to the States, getting his footing down with his family in San Antonio. We will have Dr. Carter back on for subsequent episodes to enlighten us with his scholarly ways. I typically come off experience, but he's coming with data. He's coming here with documentation and references in APA format.
Always.
Yeah, but no, with all seriousness, thanks, guys. And we'll see you on the next segment with our AUSA leaders and partners. All right. So, Dr. Carter, any final parting thoughts?
I just want to wish everyone a happy, joyous, and safe holidays with your friends, families. Please be safe.
All right. Thank you, team.